Good evening, cheeseheads, and welcome to another Monday night show. You normally see me on a Wednesday night, but I've been subbed in tonight for Caller, who's feeling a bit under the weather. Sure, he'll be back on top form soon. And what a show we have for you tonight. I'll be doing my guest to guide the conversations. We cover all the talking points after yesterday's moral boosting win against Manchester City. We have a truly stellar panel for you tonight, which includes a cheese room debutants. So Christina, some of you may know, having seen her feature on The Last Word on Spurs, also a very public admirer of a certain Jack Grealish, which I'm sure we'll get into throughout the show. Christina, it's great to have you on the show. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to talk about yesterday's game. Big time.
A lot to get into. What was it, Christina? Was it hard seeing Grealish in Emerson Royal's pocket all night?
Do you know what? I kind of liked it at the same time because I have been backing Emerson Royal for a very, very long time. And I said it, funny enough, on Last Word on Spurs, the last time I was on there, saying he should start. And I felt like we needed to give him a bit of credit. And literally, everyone was in the comments were going crazy about how wrong I was. And even the panel were just not agreeing with me. And I just sat there and they were eating their words basically now. So I was really proud of the guy. It was buzzing. Good. I was buzzing to see him like that.
Excellent. And we have one of our own, Becky. Becky, have you been good week so far?
Yes. I think if Carlsberg did weekends, it was like a cracking one. I started with my sister-in-law's baby shower on Saturday. That was lovely. And then, Jack played on Saturday and scored. Their team won. And I thought, ooh, Liverpool went and got beat 3-0. So I was like,
beautiful.
It's going to be quite a good weekend. And then, yesterday was just amazing. I'm still on like cloud nine. I haven't stopped smiling all day. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's been a good weekend. And my normal midweek co-host, Gibbo, how have you been? Now, just for those listening, Gibbo's been quite negative recently. It's been hard. It's been a hard listen with Gibbo. How are you feeling now, Gibbo? Has it all changed for you?
Oh, mate, complete turnaround, mate. I'm all in now. Conte in, Levy in, Enic in, Kane in, everybody in. Nah, mate. All I've wanted to see. They were brilliant yesterday, and we tried to play a bit of football as well against a really good team. You know, we've played some rubbish football against rubbish teams this year, and yesterday was really good. And that's what I want to see. Just want to see them. That's what they're capable of. So, really happy. Looking forward to getting into it. Looking forward to getting into, like, Emerson Royal, bigging him up because we slagged him off enough. So, you know, he's owed a little bit of positive vibes, hasn't he? And, looking forward to it, mate. Let's get into it.
Yeah, good. Well, there's only one place to start for me, and it's got to be about our Spurs talisman. There's not many players that could ever claim to be bigger than the club. But when it comes to Kane, I think it comes bloody close. He really is Mr. Tottenham. 287 Tottenham goals, the fastest player to 200 Premier League goals. What a game yesterday. So, Becky, I know you was in the stadium, as was Christina. So we'll start with you, Becky. What was it like being in the stadium yesterday and being part of those celebrations for Kane's record?
I'll answer that in a minute. To answer John's question, Dave's he's quite good, really. I think they know their season is just done, and to be fair, he wasn't too miserable. He was actually really positive about Spurs yesterday as well, because I think he saw how happy me and Jack were. It was amazing, and it was one of those ones. I had lots of people messaging me saying, you know, we saw history and we were part of history, and you know, I haven't really had time to kind of think back, but we were there. And I said last week on last week's show, when we went to Preston away, and Jack was desperate for Kane not to score. He didn't want to miss Kane getting that record, but Kane was on it from like minute one yesterday. And to be fair, they all were. I said to somebody yesterday that that's the performance we hoped for in the North London derby that we didn't get. You know, we had the second balls, we had the intensity, we had, you know, the tackles and the kind of the fist pumping and the sort of the hugging, and it was all just the kind of the morale, everything. It was a bit like last season all over again. But yeah, Kane was on it from like the word go. He was hungry for it. And yeah, it was just so great to score so early as well, which it was, you know, that just massively helps. But yeah, to be there to see that goal, it was amazing.
And Christina, how was it for you?
I was emotional because previously from the games I've been to, the atmosphere's been a bit not
Flat.
the same. It's been very flat, yeah. And I felt like everyone came together yesterday, and even before the game even started, you could feel the atmosphere building up. And honestly, when Harry Kane scored, it was just incredible. And can't even with the interview, seeing him emotional about it as well, it made everyone else get all emotional. And it was nice to see that because in some ways, to me, I felt like with our team recently, we forget like they, to me, it was like they haven't been feeling like proud to be playing for Tottenham, and for that moment it just really helped, and I felt like it really bonded everyone together, and all the celebrations afterwards when the whole team got behind him, it was beautiful to watch. And yeah, I was so glad that I actually went yesterday. I'm sorry to say it, Craig.
No, I'm gutted. For those that don't know, I sold my ticket on the exchange for the game, which I'm now deeply regretting my life choices on forevermore. So, Gibbo, I guess what we're seeing, for generations to come, we're going to be talking about Harry Kane and this record. It's probably not going to get beaten again in the chance of it getting beaten again in our lifetimes. I think are very slim. Just how lucky have we been to be watching Kane develop and score all these goals he has for Tottenham?
Well, we're very lucky, aren't we? We're blessed. Like you said, we'll never see that again. We'll never see that again. He's just a great player, isn't he? And the fact that he's come through everything to do with Harry Kane is amazing. It's just we've witnessed greatness, and it's like for me, me and my son watched it, and to have that, because we never saw Jimmy Greaves. Did we? None of us have seen Greaves playing everything, so we've witnessed that. So you feel part of it. And like Paul said here, 62,000 people are wanting the same thing in the stadium, and not just the people in the stadium, but all Spurs fans. And yesterday really felt like we were getting that sort of like Becky alluded to earlier. The end of last season, everybody was pulling together. We were all everything. People were singing, and everybody was happy. And it's been a little bit. I know you said like I have been negative, but it has felt a little bit disjointed, and the football's not been great. But like as well, he scored all the goals this season. We've not even played that well. And then yesterday to score that and win 1-0, I think winning 1-0 and him scoring the only goal made it even better. But he was fantastic yesterday. He's always fantastic, isn't he? He's just brilliant. And yeah, we're truly blessed to have seen Kane break that record, and he'll go on to smash it now, won't he?
Oh, he'll smash it and some, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Becky, how important do you think it was that he got that goal against a team like Man City and it ended up in a victory as well?
Yeah, and I think that's why I say he like we've talked before about how that when they said it was the Harry Kane team, and then that kind of affected Son, and Son kind of raises his level, and then Kane with all that went on last summer, and then them calling him the Harry Kane team, and like I said, he was very hungry for it yesterday, and it was one of those goals where Hojbjerg deserves a great deal of credit for that goal as well. And I turned to Jack straight away and went, that was down to Hojbjerg. Like we said about Bissouma for the third goal last week at Preston, it was they won the ball, but very much like the away game. They won the ball back from kind of shaky kind of City play from the back, and then strong from Hojbjerg, and a great finish. I love watching Kane because as soon as he gets into those positions, you're just looking for the net to bulge. You just know it's inevitable. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, I think it was just lots of things. He said at his interview afterwards that so at the end they asked everyone to stay behind, and he did he did all the TV, and then he kind of had the microphone off COYS and he answered a few questions, and then he kind of spoke to the crowd. And he said that it was great for him to do it against the good sides to get the 1-0 win. Because I was saying this to Jack, Lamella's Rabona was amazing, but it was in a North London derby and a defeat, so it kind of takes the edge off it. So it was just great that it was a win, and and all the rubbish about it, helping Arsenal and all that. No, we worry about ourselves first. And it was just I said to Dave when I got back today, because we got back at like midnight last night. I was talking to Dave earlier on, is that it was like fun to be at football again yesterday. Little things like when the ball boy threw the ball over Grealish's head, and every corner was cheered, every throw-in was cheered. We clapped Romero off when he got sent off. It was just fun being at football yesterday, and it's like we said, it feels like the first time this season that we've had that, certainly at home. So it was just great. That's why I haven't stopped smiling.
No, it's true. Christina, is this true?
I just knew I knew it was going to be Paddy, actually, because he always does this to me. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Fair enough. I think, Christina, what was it like? I mean, I got the sense, obviously not being at the ground, but we won't talk about that. I got a sense that a vast majority of the home crowd stayed behind for the interview afterwards. Is that fair?
Loads. Pretty much, it was a full stadium, I would have said. I think even some of the City fans stayed as well. It was
certainly at the beginning, I think.
Yeah, it's history. You're witnessing Tottenham history right there, and I haven't felt this way in a long time. But I came out of the stadium feeling really proud and happy. And even today, when I went into work, I had the biggest smile on my face. Honestly, it's crazy how football can really, it has such an effect on your emotions. It's insane. And I think as well, because we've been going through not so great recently. And obviously with Arsenal's loss, we had Chelsea draw, we had Newcastle draw with West Ham. It was a great weekend of football for us. And I don't care what anyone says. Us getting those 3 points, considering the situation, it was worth it. I don't care. It's so always worth it to see Tottenham win.
Yeah, it felt like yesterday the Harry Kane saga from last summer was all forgotten about. Never happened. Is it fair?
Yeah, but I think it's been like that for a while, hasn't it? He sort of came to life towards the back end of last season when Conte came in, and then this season it's been brilliant. You'd have never thought that doesn't look like someone who's thinking of going elsewhere. Just everything we do that's good goes through him. Just brilliant, mate. And like Christina and Becky said, and yourself, it's just great to feel like, for everybody to feel like happy. Like we've been talking about games we've won, and someone said, "Oh, we've won," and then I've been like, "Yeah, but the football was boring." But yesterday was just like perfect storm. Everything fell into place. Beating the champions at home, Kane scoring, everybody playing well, every single player doing their jobs. You could hear the crowd, the home crowd on the TV, and if you were there, I bet it was really loud. So and there's people going on, "Oh, Arsenal, Arsenal, we could do with City beating us." What a load of bollocks. That's what you want. What happened yesterday is what you want. Just look after ourselves. Don't worry about Arsenal.
Yeah, true. You get the sense, Becky, that there was a real proud. Harry was really proud of breaking that record yesterday. Not only Harry, I think we got a sense of the players and everyone around the club, and we saw lots of footage, around that. Did you get that sense? Was it? Do you think how significant do you think that is in his mind?
So, like I said, I know we're talking about the game, but once we knew, even after Romero was sent off, and we knew that we were probably going to see the game out, they put up on the screens very quickly, "Please stay in your seats. Harry will speak to to COYS," I think it said. So we was like, "Oh, well, okay, right." And then they all kind of crowded in the middle. And like I said, he did some TV interviews, and then COYS sort of talked to him, and then people were singing his name and singing songs. And once he scored as well, we did the Euro One Season Wonder song, which was nice to hear. And I don't know if people have seen that he's tweeted that, hasn't he? He's tweeted to say just a one season wonder. So he's kind of like buying into that kind of like the banter side of it, which was really nice. It just felt like there was like loads of interaction with the fans. It felt like we were kind of part of the occasion as well. And I said to people at school today that, that caption there with the 267 and the one with the gold on it, obviously that's taken some preparation. And they spoke to Greavsie's son, and he had like a little bit where he was spoken to, and it was all it all just kind of came together. And then he was talking like to COYS and answering questions. He remembered what his first Premier League goal was, and then I know in TV interviews he talked about his first goal being Shamrock Rovers, and then he kind of thanked the people that had played with him, and the players and the staff were all kind of like standing nearby. And then when COYS then said, "Oh, we've got some footage from Greaves' son, all the players then kind of jumped on him, and that's some of the pictures that you've kind of seen since, and COYS laughing, and it was like that kind of, when they do it on the last game of the season and the players come back out with their families, it was like that, but it was the 5th of February. So it was just really lovely. And I think everyone felt that they were kind of part of it. And then Harry turned to the crowd and he talks to the crowd and he kind of repeats what he's just said because you couldn't hear half of it first time. But it just felt like he was talking to us, and he was saying things like, there's still loads to play for the rest of the season. We've got so much to look forward to. And then, of course, today they've shown footages of them in the changing room, and I watched that and was like, I could watch it all day. It was just so lovely the way they kind of, I just felt the only person I felt a little bit sorry for was Doherty. Is that Doherty wasn't there for all of that. But yeah, it just felt like really, because he's like his mate, isn't he? And like all the photos that they took with him and all the hugs and all that. And like, Doherty's not there. But
he's all right. He's all right. He'd have WhatsApped him.
Yeah. Christine, what did you make of the Conte call to Kane? Did you see that footage today?
Oh my god, I don't know what it is, but I love Conte so much. I generally do. I thought it was like, it was like the cherry. It was just beautiful. I loved it. I was so emotional. I was watching it because we all went to the Beehive pub afterwards, and we all sat there watching it, and it was great. It was so good. It was just such a nice little touch. I was gutted he wasn't even there, to be honest. And I felt like a lot of the crowd even missed him as well. And we were all chanting Antonio.
Sang his name a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. It happened quite a lot. And it was nice, like, as well. It was just such a good vibe. I can't tell you anymore. It was great. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant seeing that phone call. And you could see how much it meant to Kane himself as well. It was just all great. And even seeing, like, with his wife afterwards, Kate, there's a video of him walking in, and it's just so lovely to see how much of a humble guy he is as well. He's just such a he's such a huge role model, I think, in football in general, for young kids and girls. It's so important to have people like him, and we should be proud that we've got someone like that on our team. So yeah,
and he said that in one of his interviews, and he was saying about how when he was at 20, he said he'd been here since he was 11, and then he said when he was 20 he was finding it really hard, and he was kind of implying that people had written him off, and he was keeping going. A bit like when he launched his mental health charity that day with the video, he talked about how all the things he'd kind of overcome, and it just makes you feel all fuzzy and lovely. And he's he is, like Christina said, he's such a great role model, and he just gets his head down and gets going. And
there's going to be that documentary that's about to come out on Spurs TV, isn't there, which is going to be about documenting his journey so far. So we're all excited to that. I have got two more questions on Kane, which I'm sure those listening will want us to discuss. But before I do, I don't think we can not just nod our caps to the late great Jimmy Greaves. And you may or may not have seen the family statement that they released today. But I thought that was really touching. How about you?
Yeah, it's good because obviously, the record's been beat, but they sort of appreciate it and, they're part of it and everything, aren't they? But yeah, it's a classy touch from them. And like I said, never seen Jimmy Greaves play. But when you look, they put like some of his records on Sky yesterday. Like, I think the actual top flight goals, nobody's going to. Did you see the numbers? Kane ain't getting near that, and he's something special. Yeah. So, brilliant from Greaves' family, and like his son coming on and saying a piece in the stadium, and that brilliant. But well made up for Kane, deserves it. I was gonna say, can you think of what his best goal is that that we've seen? Was that going to be one of your questions, Craig? I haven't.
It was one of my questions, but it's fine. That's my co-host Gibbo. That's fine. Yeah, let's go round then. Christina, what's the best goal for you?
Mine is the goal against Arsenal when he took off the mask. I was literally right there where he came towards us when he celebrated, and I've never ever heard the stadium so loud in my entire life. It was unbelievable, and obviously for it to be against Arsenal, stunning. That was my favourite by far. Yeah.
What was yours, Becky?
I'm looking forward to watching all 267 tomorrow because they're on YouTube and it's 45 minutes long, isn't it? So, I would say the same. That sounds really rubbish, but I'd say the same Definitely anything at the North London derby. He loves playing, doesn't he, Arsenal, and those type of goals. But obviously the mask is so iconic when he like rips it off. But it's like, obviously I'm a big Sonny fan. It's the ones like that. Sonny, he said in an interview yesterday that he was so grateful to have been with Kane during a lot of his goals, and that was really, kind of doesn't want to take the limelight out of him, but it's nice for him to say that. So I think when they got the record for the most assists away at Leeds, that was really cool. The way kind of Sonny like bent down, and the two of them were kind of nice, together. And there's like when Kane scored the penalty last season in North London derby, and the goals that Son like points at Kane and that kind of. So it's just their kind of how they are rather than a specific goal. Like Gibbo said, he's so important. The goals that he's kind of rescued us in games from, and winning goals, I think, are amazing. There's too many to say just one.
Gibbo?
Well, the Arsenal goal is special. I love that. I just love the finish, and like when he took the mask off and ran. But we never won, which shouldn't really take anything away from the goal because it was quality. But for me, do you remember when we beat Chelsea? I think it was 5-2 or 5-3 under Poch. He scored a goal in that game that I just, like my son, all I can remember is, and he always says that he came in because we smashed them, and I was like, we never beat Chelsea, and I was going mad in the front room, and he was only little then, and he can always remember it. And he says that's the day he started supporting Spurs, when he saw me sort of going mental from that goal. He said, he remembers me rolling on the floor, but I don't think I was rolling on the floor. I must have just been like, I don't know what I was doing. It was just we were hammering Chelsea. But that's it. From that minute, he started supporting Tottenham. So that goal against Chelsea, where he sort of just cut in and put it in the far corner. Yeah.
I just remembered last year's against City as well. In that game, the away game, wasn't it? When Romero gave away the penalty near the end, and then Kane scored the header at the end. Like I said, there's just so many that were, when they're winning ones. I was really pleased yesterday was a winning one, and he could celebrate it properly, because I said this to Dave the other day, that so many goals this season, it seems to be we've been equalising. So there's not really been a huge celebration. It's been like, yeah, great, a couple of high fives right back to the halfway line, because we've equalised. So it was quite nice for it to be like that kind of celebration as well, because like I said, there's been so many times, apart from the last minute ones that we've had for winners, it's been right, come on, off we go again. And it does mute the celebration when it is an equaliser.
Or even the ones that have been taken away by VAR, like Sport.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
I
still have nightmares about that now. I was talking about that yesterday. I still, to this day, don't really understand what happened then.
Just a great bloke, great goal scorer.
It's
great role model,
by the way. Yeah, as lame as it sounds, it's just iconic, that goal, for so many reasons. So just two more questions before we move on. What next for Harry now? So obviously he's got 200 goals. Wayne Rooney's on 208. Alan Shearer's on 260. What next for Harry Kane? Gibbo?
Shearer. He's after Shearer now, isn't he? Rooney he'll catch him in a month or so, overtake him, and for England, he'll do him twice in a couple of months. Beat him for England, beat him for Spurs, then on to Shearer, and hopefully he'll be bagging them goals for Spurs. So when he beats Shearer's record, he'll be playing for Spurs, he'll do it for Spurs. In a 1-0 win will do. But yeah, that's it. Keep banging them in, Harry. Let's see you smash Shearer's record.
And I guess that's the question, that my next question for the panel is, because realistically, he could beat Shearer's record in 2, more likely 3 seasons' time. Is he going to be at Spurs to do it, Becky?
I would love to say yes. If he stays fit, then he can do it. There's no reason why he can't do it at Spurs. I know I keep talking about Doherty, but in his kind of closing sort of tweet, he put that there were big things coming to Tottenham. And I remember Joe Hart saying something similar when he left as well. There's no reason why he can't, but I don't see him moving abroad. What's the point of getting so close to Shearer and then moving to Bayern Munich? I just think that's just complete rubbish when that gets rumoured about. He could go to United, but, we've talked before about how, whereas he might get the goals at United, he won't necessarily get more trophies. I was listening to and hanging on every word yesterday. And even when he said something You know, when they was it on Friday? Spurs tweeted the video of him getting his signed shirt with a 300 on it. He tweets something like "more to come," and I was like, he wanted him to say "many more to come," and it's like you're kind of trying to you hold on every word to try and work out what he's doing. I obviously the romantic in me wants him to stay, but I just don't see him going abroad. I'd love him to do it at Spurs. I don't want him going anywhere else.
Christina, does he stay for you? Is he going to sign a new contract?
I would love to see him, like Becky says. Yeah, I think if he is to go somewhere, I think it would either be United, and I really hate to say it, but Chelsea could really get involved as well, because the way that I've been looking at their business at the moment, they just seem to be going up to people being like, how much do you want? And they'll pay it. And that's what makes me worry slightly. And we've started to obviously do business with them as well now. If you've seen like with the youngster Jude. So that makes me a little bit nervous, but I don't know if Levy would actually do that to sell one of our, greatest, one of our legends to one of our rivalries. I don't know, but even United, I'd hate to see him in the United shirt. But hopefully, if it's a good season, I don't know. It's so hard.
What do we need to do this season to keep him?
I think we've just got to just keep pushing on and just hope that that's going to be enough and that we can show enough ambition to keep him. Because I think if we do that, then I think he possibly would sign a new contract, depending probably see what his options are. Man U will be in for him, I should imagine. Christina says Chelsea. I just hope he wouldn't do that. But football now, a bit different, isn't it? Money, and they could probably guarantee him trophies, but Spurs just really got to show ambition and hope that he's happy with it. Whatever happens with the manager, players we bring in, it's amazing how everything changes. Just because of the whole mood around Spurs before the transfer market, I was a bit like, he ain't going to stay, is he? But when you look at it, when you take a step back and you reflect on it a little bit, brought Porro in, who probably will be an upgrade to the squad. Danjuma don't know if he's not going to be a first team player, but the squad he's made that stronger. So slowly we are building a better squad. And if we bring somebody in the summer and we speak to him and say, look, this is what we're doing. But I think we've just got to keep showing ambition and just pushing on and just hope that he buys into it. And, I don't think his future's aligned with Conte. He's like a lot of people say. I think he just genuinely wants to see the club. He just show ambition, and we could go and win the FA Cup. No more sort of experimental teams in the FA Cup. Let's go out to win it now. Let's go. We've got a bit of form. Like Becky said, it felt like the end of last season. Let's push on for top 4 now. Let's just go for it. And if we're doing, I think there's a chance he may sign a new contract. I'm not convinced, but hope's all
it's tricky, isn't it? Because we all say the same thing. We're all like, we hope. But that summer was very out of character for Kane, to not show up to training, to not kind of really, sort of, I know he doesn't have to air all his dirty laundry in public, but I've never seen so many tweets today from Kane in my life. It was just that's what's making us hesitant, because if that summer hadn't happened, we'd be like, yeah, of course he's going to stay. What makes us think otherwise? But that was all a bit, whether he was ill-advised, and it's all Charlie's fault. That's what puts us off, because we worry, don't we, that it could change. And he was obviously very upset that Mourinho left, and he felt that the club was really going nowhere. And it was weird. I haven't watched all the goals back today, but I saw one towards the end of last season. His hair's really long and he looks a lot heavier than he looks now. And when he clapped at the end of that Villa game, he just looked bereft. So move on 12 months, he looks fitter, he looks sharper. He's talking about how much better he feels in his own body. But it's always that nagging. It could go back to that, and that's what's stopping us. And of course, he's going to stay forever.
It depends, doesn't it? Because if somebody like Madrid come in for him, I know we say he possibly wants Shearer's record, but at his age, you don't know how he's thinking. That a big move to someone like that. So I think it all depends who you know, who comes in for him. And if it's like a sideways move, I don't see the point.
Right. I saw a tweet today, and so I can't remember who it was, but I will find it and retweet it. But there's a great point, and it said something on the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing: 30 years of Premier League football, endless number of players have played in the competition, hundreds and hundreds of winners' medals, but no one can name them all. But we can all name the 3 players who have scored more than 200 goals. And I thought that was really, really a great perspective to the achievement of Harry Kane, and how, you know, you don't need to win a Premier League medal to have your name, you know, etched in history as he has with Tottenham. And the final point, just a little plug, in honour of Harry, Tottenham Hotspur football flags are planning on a display, and they're looking for donations. They need to raise £750. So they're looking for one-off donations. Links in the chat if you want to come along and find it. But I've donated a tenner. So yeah, get in there and donate, and let's make that celebration happen.
I've donated as well, because they were saying that they want to do like a 30 foot by 15 foot, a bit like the ones that they have at Newcastle, where they kind of drag them up to the south stand, which we've not done before. It's always been tifos or flags. And they were saying that that's the amount that they think they need for it, and they can get it in place for the Chelsea game. And I just thought, if we kind of try and kind of do our best to sort of share that, and people, you can donate £1 to it, and if enough people do it. And we waved a flag again yesterday. We've done it like 4 or 5 times now, and there's loads of people trying to make a difference. And some of you might say, oh, well, the club should be paying for it, but these lads are really trying to do something about this. And I thought, what a lovely thing to do, to get it done quick, get one with Kane on it. And if anybody can help, the link's in the chat and it takes you to their page. Thank you.
I think they'll do that. I think that's doable, really doable.
Not
No.
Yeah, no, good. Okay, well, let's crack in on and talking about the game and how it unfolded. So, team news ahead of kickoff saw Christian Stellini name an unchanged side from the one at Fulham. There was a lot of noise leading up to the stadium. I'm sure, Becky, Christina, you would have heard it on the way in the stadium about Porro not starting and Royal getting the nod. Be honest with us, guys. How many of you was really, really frustrated that Porro wasn't starting?
Christina, do you want to go first?
I wasn't. I don't know why he would have started. Like, whenever we sign someone, they don't start off straight away.
Yeah.
So, and not even that. I don't think he did. I think he only did like 1 or 2 training sessions with us. So I didn't, it just makes sense for Royal to start. And like I said from the beginning, Royal's been, he's been building up, and he played the best performance he's done. So no, I wasn't disappointed when I saw the lineup. I expected it. So no, it wasn't not for me. Yeah,
I was saying before that Emerson played at the City away game, didn't he? And he was one of the better players that night. So I was fully expecting him. Exactly the same with Christina. It's very rare that we've ever dropped anybody in straight in. So I didn't expect him to be there in the starting lineup. It was great seeing him running up and down the touchline. I think every single time him and Danjuma ran down the north, they got clapped. That's why I was saying before, it was just one of those games where everything happened, and it was just really lovely. So yeah, they got a before the game. You must remember. Do you remember when Sessegnon and Lo Celso signed, and they came out on the pitch before, and Lo Celso was wearing this kind of really dodgy jacket?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And he's kind of like waving, and I think when they did it with Ndombele as well, they both sort of were like not really sure what was supposed to do. Anyway, Danjuma and Porro did it in like training gear, and they looked like they were etching to get on. They were like desperate to get on the pitch, so it was a lot better. And so they had their reception before kickoff. That was nice. But yeah, I loved how well Royal played, and Hojbjerg. I've said this before. They were amazing. And Royal, he was like a man possessed. Grealish is a pest. He is a pest. And whether he dives or whether he just takes the hit and takes the contact and all of that, but Emerson, he was amazing yesterday, and it's going to be tricky for Leicester because and even AC Milan.
Well,
he may start for that.
Yeah, no, we'll get all into that. Gibbo, come on. I know you were disappointed.
I thought he would start, mate. Whether I wanted Porro to start,
exactly.
But we said, he was going to start. And let's be honest, to be fair to him, Emerson's best performances have come against teams like City, Liverpool, where Liverpool away last season, where where you have to defend it. I mean, he was decent at the Etihad, so and like a lot of people have said, he deserved. A lot of people give him a lot of shit, and he was brilliant yesterday. And I think a lot of people yesterday said, fair dues to him. Oh, like John put on Twitter, didn't he? Tweeted an apology to Emerson Royale for all the negativity towards him. But he was really good. But the one thing I'll say about him, somebody's come in who we've paid a lot of money for in his place, and he stepped up. And he put in a performance because he's got somebody behind him who's trying to get into his place now. And that's what you want from a player. That's what you want, like, show that passion and that desire and that sort of, I don't want him to come in. I want to keep my place. I'm fighting for my place here. I want to play for this club. And that's what we all want. So, we should be like championing him for that. Fair play to him. He was really good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't disagree. We'll get onto that again a bit more. Christina, was the lineup what you expected it to be? Was you happy with the lineup?
Yeah. As well, what I was nervous about was having, sorry to say, but like Sanchez. I wanted it to be exactly how it was, because a lot of people were saying, would you rather Dier or Sanchez? I'd rather have Dier, in my opinion. I didn't think Dier played that bad yesterday. I just thought yesterday was the best performance. Well, it was the best performance this season. So I was more than happy.
That's a great message. Man City made 4 changes, including Kevin De Bruyne being on the bench. Foden and Stones missed out through injury. Gibbo, did that lineup raise your spirits a little bit ahead of the game? Did they give us a bit of an in there, do you think?
Possibly, but I think any team that City put out are a really good team. Like the young lad plays for them, excellent footballer. Every player they put out, mate, is a good player. So, and they play on the front foot. They're just a really good team. So, I don't look at it and think, oh, we got a chance here because they're playing so and so. Because every player they put out is decent. So, no, and I mean, before the game, I was thinking, leading up to the game, I thought we're going to really struggle today, but we never. Spurs turned up. Brilliant.
Yeah, we certainly did turn up. Unsurprisingly, Man City dominated possession in the early stages, but certainly, as they always do against us, seemed to look vulnerable on the counter-attack. And then the early blow for Man City came through a Rodri mistake with the Viking, that is Hojbjerg, who, by the way, on Hojbjerg, there's a two-man fan club for Hojbjerg, and it's only got 2 members, me and Gibbo. I've got a feeling, Gibbo, we may be accepting new members soon because I think others are going to join.
Well, they won't admit to that, mate. The people who were on the outside of that, they won't admit to that. They'll just wait for him to do something. But on this show, I said on this show early doors, Hojbjerg will be top assist. He'll have the most assists from midfield. Bentancur is brilliant as well, but he'll have the most assists. He'll score the most goals of our midfielders. And at the minute, I think it's proven right, isn't it? There's a reason why he always gets picked with Bentancur, and he was fantastic yesterday. Hojbjerg was, but I think there's a lot more people that like him. I think a lot of people wrote him off before, and now they can't bring themselves to say that he is a good player and he's an important team member. And you know what? Kane will be captain if he stays when Lloris goes, but he's a captain on that pitch. He's always round with the players. He's just brilliant yesterday. Just his whole attitude, him and Emerson, just typified everything Spurs were about yesterday. So yeah, let's have some love for the Viking.
I'll admit I've been one of them. Sometimes he has brilliant games, and sometimes you just think, what? Who are you? I don't understand who this guy is on the pitch. He's been hot and cold. But yesterday he was absolutely brilliant. It's just he lacks the consistency. It's just really annoying.
He is upgraded. If you were going to go out and spend a load of money, if we were going to be a Chelsea or a City, he's upgradable. But for what we've got at the minute, he's been the best players this season for Spurs have been Kane, Bentancur, and Hojbjerg. And like I agree with you, Christina. He does have, like, I think the last few games he's not been great, but he came back yesterday and he was fantastic. And they've been our three best players this year. They've sort of, when we've been poor, they've sort of dragged us. They've dragged us along. And I think he's been good since he's been at Spurs. The trouble is, we've run him into the ground at times, didn't we? Under Mourinho, didn't he literally play till it looked like he physically couldn't run anymore? So yeah, just everything about.
Also, as well, he plays better when he's going forward. So when there's an opportunity to go forward, he plays better. Like all our players do, they all look better when they are going forward.
Yeah,
that's just unfortunately the way it is. We just look better when we're going forward, and like when he's lost the ball and he's running back in his arms, flailing all over the place. It doesn't look good, and he doesn't make the kind of tackles back. Bentancur does. Bentancur, bless him, he's taking the hit every week and getting booked every game, arguably for bookings that shouldn't be given. But he's the one having to run back and make those interceptions, and there weren't. Hojbjerg was further forward yesterday, and when he scored, against Fulham, and he's been allowed to move further forward, and is that because yesterday Dier was allowed to play further forward, and the whole kind of we were just sort of 10 yards further up the pitch than we normally are, and we've always been better when we're attacking.
Bentancur is a graceful looking player, isn't he? When you look at him, he's elegant, he's tall, and he turns, and everything he does looks lovely. And Hojbjerg isn't, is he? He does, you know what I mean? He just gets in there, he does all the dirty stuff, and he just, when he gets in amongst them, and he's like he is waving his hands around, and he just doesn't, he hasn't got that sort of grace and poise that like Bentancur has. But it doesn't mean he's a poor player. He's just better at different things. But yeah, Caller's the one who is always slagging him off. Flappy hands.
I mean, we how did, for you, Becky, how do you think we started the game in the first 15 minutes?
Well, I can't really remember the first 15 minutes. I don't remember there being anything. And when I watched Match of the Day back this morning, they showed the goal was the first incident they showed, and the commentator went, and Tottenham have scored completely against the run of play. And I thought, I don't really remember there being any chances. I remember when they hit the bar. I remember the save down to Lloris's left, which wasn't going in. If it was, that would have been a disaster. So that shouldn't have been in. But I remember a few curling Grealish shots that kind of came over towards us. I don't really remember a great deal. We were always going to play counter-attack. We knew that City were going to have possession. That's how they play. And the other thing, interestingly, when they go behind, they play exactly the same way. They don't change how they play. They just continue playing the same way. So I don't remember there being a load of clear-cut shots. But we just sort of handled the things. I was talking to Jack on the way home. We were talking about, man of the match. And I did vote for Emerson. My Dave texted me and said that Hojbjerg got it on Sky, but I was like, it's Emerson. But, we were thinking about interceptions that Dier had made, headers he'd made, and Davis was making headers. And, it was just an all-round team effort. But I don't really remember anything up until our goal.
No, I don't. And obviously the goal came because of great high pressing from Hojbjerg. What did you make of that high press from Hojbjerg, Gibbo?
That's what he does. Well, they showed it, didn't they? And Hojbjerg was right up there. Bentancur was right up there. Dier was right up there. We just pushed them in. And I think when we scored away at the
which they did at the away game. They did that in the away game.
They did that to score the goal there. So that's what you got to do. And he knew where the pass was going, laid it off. We were just at it, weren't we? That was a good press and it worked. And City are going to knock it around. If you can get in there before them, then you're going to have a chance. So yeah, it was good. That's what we were high energy yesterday. We were up for that. That was like Spurs from last season. That was what I want. Well, that's how Conte ball works like that, isn't it? Conte ball playing like that's great. Conte ball playing like a few weeks ago is shocking, but yesterday was Conte ball at its best.
Yeah, no, it really was. And in terms of the rest of the half, apart from Man City maybe hitting the crossbar, didn't they, towards the end of the half, they didn't really frustrate us that much. Would you say, Christine? Would you agree with that?
There was a few occasions it was a bit nerve-wracking, especially because when you're sitting on the south stand and when the second half, like, I can't see because I'm so blind. But it was very fast-paced. I thought we were very fast-paced, shall I say? And it was so much more creativity that was going on in the midfield. And as well, when I kept looking at Emerson Royale throughout the game, and I noticed he was actually looking ahead when he had the ball. He wasn't just guessing and just kicking the ball wherever he thought, he was actually going ahead and planning. Like, you could see the organisation. And I felt like with all of the players, it was just very organised play. The only thing is, we should have scored more. That was the only negative I could come out of that game. We nearly did, obviously, with the Harry Kane when he should have got that header. Ben Davies as well, I think, nearly did a blinder at one point. That was honestly my negative after the game. But I didn't see, even Haaland, I didn't see much of him like having the ball that much. It was quite bland from City. It was weird, really, really weird to watch them like that. Because I generally enjoy watching them. But it was so good to see us, playing so much better than, who are supposedly like the champions at, previous Premier League winners. It was great. It was brilliant. But yeah.
They, I mean, I've got a friend who's a City fan, and he thinks that Pep's lost it. I've known him for years, and he's been going for a long time. He's been going since they've got relegated and stuff. He thinks Pep's lost the dressing room, and I was just like, "No, mate. We've got the sign over here. We've always done all right against City, and yesterday, I said Spurs were good yesterday, and I think Man City is still getting used to." I mean, he's been brilliant for him. He scored loads of goals, but I think they're adjusting. I don't know if they're exactly where they need to be yet to get the most out of Haaland, which is quite frightening because he's bagged 25 goals already. But it's
and the thing is they just didn't never cross to him yesterday. So no. Grealish would. I remember in the second half, Grealish would pull it back to the middle. That guy with the big hair, is it Lewis? That guy, the little guy with the big hair. They'd like square it to him, and then when De Bruyne came on, they do the same thing. But they never really hit the crosses into him for his head. And like my Jack noticed that he didn't. He's like he didn't do much, and then we were like looking into it. He didn't have any shots. Yeah, and then he touches in their box, and you could see the frustration. You could see he was really frustrated. And I remember there was a game this season, wasn't it, when I remember watching it on the Saturday, and
Palace,
Leeds or something maybe, and they were the same thing. He's frustrated because they're not playing to his strengths, which obviously worked out brilliantly for us yesterday. But it was just quite clear how much Kane is involved. How we talk about how so much Kane is involved. There were times when he was, holding up in the middle and passing to Kulusevski, and then him and Son was having some really good interplay. But Haaland doesn't really do any of that. He's just there running to be on the end of a ball that never really kind of came for him yesterday.
He's just there to finish. That's it.
So, for me, they play Grealish on the left, who's right-footed, Mahrez on the right, who's left-footed, and it's as if they need to swap them over, because what Grealish and Mahrez do, they sort of beat their man, then they have to check back on their other foot and put the ball in, where it's like he makes the runs. You just want someone to beat your man. I know it's a bit old-fashioned having a left footer on the left and a right foot on the right, but if they did that, drop the shoulder, beat the man, whipped it in, that's what he thrives on, those types of balls. But they don't, do they? They just sort of have players who sort of like Grealish stands up his man and keeps dropping his shoulder, then cuts back and puts it in. And if he's got a player on him, then we neutralised him yesterday, didn't we? We sort of had that three at the back, got bodies round him, threw stuff in the way. But I don't think they're really. I don't think they really used him to his like full potential yesterday, did they? Thank God.
I've just seen the comment of how many goals have City scored at Tottenham. It's actually mad, the stat on that they've never scored.
It's crazy, isn't it? I love it. It's their bogey team. So we were coming down the services. We stopped at rugby services, and we forgot. It's like when we did the Liverpool game, and there must have been a coach arrived just before we got there, and they were everywhere. And some of them were giving us grief when we were going to the toilets. But I was saying to my friend today that that we are their bogey team, and I never had any issues with City. Even when they had all the money, I was like, they win everything, and it's just what happens. And I'd rather than do that than Chelsea and United. So, but yesterday they were like giving us flack, and I was like, we really are their bogey team. And then, like I said earlier, about how it used to rile Son up, and Son, really performed in those particular Champions League matches when we played them, when Kane wasn't fit. And then, the fact that they still haven't scored there, and it's becoming a problem for them, and it's brilliant. And if we'd played better away, we'd have, we should have kicked on after the 2-0. We just came out asleep.
Sitting back. That's the part about Conte ball I hate, because doesn't matter how good, obviously some of Romero's great. The other two have their moments, but the more they're defending, the more likely they're going to make mistakes. And I know City were pressing, but we just couldn't hold off, because we, like you said, we were just sort of we just didn't, like yesterday, even when they attacked, we broke with a bit of purpose, but we just couldn't really do that away from home, could we, against them? Just like we never, like you said, Beck, we never pushed on. And that's what we did yesterday from the very start.
And remember, we were still in this era where Lloris made the mistake, didn't he? And then still, Lloris didn't have anything really to do yesterday. And there's that because the defence were there sorting it. And then, brilliant. I still remember that chance. Remember when Romero went over the halfway line, didn't he? And Sonny had it, and Romero runs past him.
That was a good chance if the ball in. But maybe as well, Haaland, after Romero literally wiped him out on the halfway line, maybe he got a little bit worried after that, because he literally cleaned him out, didn't he? Straight from behind. Yeah. Give him both,
there was 3 or 4 times where Romero does them ones where he runs the whole pitch, and I'm there going, oh! And he did one at Villa, and he was lucky not to get off a Villa. But and I've read lots of people saying today the ref was really poor, and that there were decisions that weren't going for us, and when we were singing, you don't know what you're doing, and all that sort of stuff. But City were frustrated at the end of the half that they weren't getting things. I love it when De Bruyne, I must admit, I don't know if Christine, if you were the same, when De Bruyne had that free kick towards the end, the kind of stadium kind of hushed, and it was like, and then it either hits Hojbjerg, doesn't it, or Hojbjerg heads it, and then he goes down. And I said to my Jack, I was like, Hojbjerg's a lot of things, but he's not stupid. He's going to take as long as he needs for that, and good on him.
He just headed that, didn't he? He headed it and thought, I'm just going to drop to the floor now.
Cleared it.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about the ref yesterday. Oh my God, it was awful, the decisions. That first half was appalling from him. I don't know where they got him from. It was terrible. I've never seen anything like it. It was so bad.
And there were a few that he was playing, there were cynical fouls on the halfway line, and he was playing advantage, but he never pulled them back and then booked them after that. And, I remember when Davis got booked, and it was a point where he was kind of losing it a little bit. He was losing kind of control. A little bit.
Talking about free kicks, though, it's Christina's mate, isn't it? Constantly getting them.
He's a pest. That's what he's there for. He's either takes the contact that goes down, or he takes players on and gets fouled. That Bale used to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Who did true. Bale? Did you say sorry?
Not his first time.
Not as bad as
second time.
Not as bad as him. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are fouls, but he just literally draws. And when Romero got sent off, if you see it from the other angle, don't get me wrong, he did take him, but it's literally, I don't know how he got his body to do that movement when he sort of just draws in the contact, and then he's gone. It's it's a work of art how he does it.
Grealish bought that, didn't he? Bought the referee to buy that all day long.
Well, it was a foul. It was probably a yellow, but yeah.
Romero shouldn't have got sent off in my opinion. I mean, I think he would have at one point, but not for that one, because the first one shouldn't have been a yellow.
And also, I think he was going to make a substitution just before that as well. That's the thing that's really frustrating.
No.
I think he was going to make a
moment.
Was poor Richard. My Jack noticed that. He went, Richarlison's coming on. Oh no, he's not. He's sitting back down again. So,
they put his shirt. They chucked his shirt back, and he was like, "Oh, all right." He sat back down.
The back three yesterday, I thought, were pretty phenomenal. Actually, of Dier, Davis, and Romero. Is that our best back three? Is Linglet in there for you? Yeah.
Would you have Langley,
No.
Christina? Would you, or do you think that was our best yesterday?
I was comfortable-ish with them. Yeah, they would be the best three out of what we've got.
I quite liked Longley until he made that gaff at City, and I was one of the. I know he's not the fastest, but he's got like a steady head on him. He's like Davis in the fact that there's lots of people tweeting again today. We said this a lot about Davis before. He's very dependable. He does the right things. He does, he does what he needs to do. He was delighted at the end. Him and Sonny were like properly like going this, and he was really pleased for Kane. And I know people say, "Oh, he's been here too long now. And he should have moved on." But he was there for lots of headers. There was lots of kind of communication between the three of them. Like I said, I think Longley's he felt like he was an upgrade. Maybe he isn't the fastest, but that kind of mistake that he made at City was it was all right at Preston. I remember him playing at Preston. He didn't have anything to do at Preston, so yeah. But I like the fact again that we can kind of rotate. There is that sort of that's a position that we have got a little bit of.
Davis is bang on, a brilliant squad player. Play left centre back, play left back if you have to go to a 4. At a push, he can play left wing back, and he's just pretty dependable. He isn't the best, but he's a fantastic squad player. And if he is going to be a squad player, he's not going to moan about it. So I think Davis is decent. They were good. The back three were good yesterday. But like Dier has these games. I think Dier has a run of games, gets complacent, and you start seeing the brain farts, like trying to edit back when Salah's up his ass, and some of the other ridiculous things he does. But we will be looking at stronger defenders. But they were good yesterday. But if you let them get pummeled, if you let the ball keep coming into them, if you make them defend constantly, those players are going to make mistakes. So,
but that's why we've got to counter attack. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've got to counter attack. We've got to push it forward. We've got to step up the pitch. We've got to play better with our wing backs, and that all did kind of slot in yesterday. I asked Jack on the way home, "Come on, Jack, put your team in order yesterday of the best players in order," and he put Perisic last, and then he went, "Oh, well, Perisic wasn't the worst player. He just did the least of what we needed him to do." And I was like, "Yeah, he did," because it was down the right with Royal and Kulusevski, and that's why everyone's so excited about Porro, because they're like, you've got Romero, Porro, and you've got Kulusevski all on that side. So Perisic didn't do a great deal yesterday, but he didn't need to. He took corners, and I remember there was interceptions that he made as well, and it seemed like we had Sonny back. Sonny didn't lose the ball yesterday. He was taken runs again, and there was that one, wasn't there? Was it when Kane had a shot, didn't he? Was it must have been no, it was the second half, and he went for like a worldie, didn't he, Kane? And Son just stands there next to him going, "What the hell? You should have passed that to me." And I turned to Jack and went, "Son's got a point there. Kane's already scored." So, but it's good that they've still got that urgency, because, Son's head was definitely going down.
Yeah.
He was much better on it. He wasn't losing the ball yesterday. He had that kind of freedom. He was running at players.
He was a threat, Beck, wasn't he, again yesterday? Like, he had that run and he took that shot, didn't he? And there was more. We saw more of him not getting the ball trapped under his feet when he's trying to run, because that's what's been up. But yesterday, he was on it, and although he never scored, he was a threat.
No, agreed. One of the things I wanted to touch on was the performance overall. Was that more of what we expect from Conte ball? Is that more the performance we expect from a Conte type team? Are we seeing Tottenham at their best again? Are we starting to get some form, Becky?
I hope so. I was saying to someone today, I like Stellini. I like his kind of way. He seems really positive, and I know we talked about Conte phoning Kane, and Conte's had a lot to go through this season, but I like Stellini. I like the kind of the way he is. He's talked about Kane being a goat, and it's in his DNA. And at the end, when they were interviewing Kane, he's going around kind of like hugging everybody, like the new players as well, and it's kind of his whole kind of manners. And so I like it. Someone put in the comments then, did we play like that because Conte wasn't on the touchline? And you're like, I remember being really worried for Marseille. How were we going to win away in Marseille without Conte on the touchline? And again, that the Marseille performance was similar. That it was a kind of a good all round kind of performance. With Hojbjerg at the end and Kane running through, and Hojbjerg played with one leg towards the end of that game. So I think Stellini does have an effect. But it's like we said before, we played like that last season with Conte, And we've made lots of excuses this season saying, oh, the intensity's dropped because the World Cup's coming, they're saving themselves for the World Cup. And then we'll be the other side of the World Cup. They're still tired from the World Cup and the intensity would, and there is this kind of hope that we will eventually get back to the way it was last year because it's not a vastly different team. And yesterday felt like a glimmer of it. And I was just saying to lots of people, I just hope we kick on from this now and go on a run of games. And, you know, Leicester are a tricky side because they're so inconsistent, aren't they? And I just want us to go. I just want us to go on a run. I want us to go on a run. I didn't see the Villa game because I wasn't there. No, I didn't see it.
Oh, they are poor at the back. I watched like the Villa game after. And they will concede chances.
Yeah, they will. The infamous team meeting that happened 3 games ago. Since then, 3 games, 3 clean sheets. Performances improved. Christina, what do you think was said in that meeting? What's changed?
As in from the transfer window?
I mean, the players had that meeting, didn't they, with Conte after the performance and clear the air talks, whatever they called it about.
After the Arsenal game, wasn't it? He called them in after the Arsenal game and said he's had enough of the mistakes. He's had enough of this. And we don't know what was said, but.
Well, weren't we all? God knows actually what was said in that. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall. Do you know what I think as well? What might have actually had an effect was Doherty, because I said it as soon as I saw the news about it. I was actually quite happy because I just really didn't want to see Doherty in a Spurs shirt again. I just did not think the guy wanted to play for Spurs. He kept getting injured. He was 31 years old. I didn't think we were going to get much money off him, even if we did sell him. And for the attitude, the way we did it was actually really good. And I think we need to be more like that.
Ruthless.
Yeah, we need to be more ruthless with some of these players. If you're not performing to the standards that we are expecting, things like that need to happen. And I think that might have had a little impact on the players, and especially with Conte, because I would hate to see him angry. But I feel like that might have had a slight impact on, with the players yesterday, maybe. It's things like that. We do need to step up and be more ruthless, Tottenham as a team, because we're so soft sometimes, and it really frustrates me. But that's why I like characters like Romero, Richarlison. It's characters like that. You need a few of them on the pitch.
Porro's going to be one of them as well, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really do. That's what we've lacked for such a long time. So yeah, I think see what happens. We'll see what happens, I guess. But yeah.
Gibbo, have you seen a change, a difference in the last few games with the clean sheets?
Yeah, well, they have. I mean, didn't Kane sort of say, we're going to go back to basics, back to what we were good at before? I don't know why you try and veer away from if you were good at something. I don't know. But I don't really get what we tried to do. It just seems to me like, he's basically got them in and said, it's time to sort your heads out, lads, because this ain't good enough and we're dropping. And it's like, we've said in the chat before, I felt that we were sort of like, we weren't playing well, things weren't going well. And for a period, I sort of felt like Conte's the coach here. He's not changing anything. He's not trying to do anything. Doesn't seem like we're trying to do anything different. And we were just going through the motions, and there's a talk of him wanting to go back home. And you just felt a little bit like, it all just felt a bit like he'd had enough, didn't it? And we were just going to drift through the rest of the season. But then hopefully he's got him in and sort of said, look, whether it's like, look, I'm here at the minute and we're going to push on and we're going to win. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back to what we're doing. We've got to stop making these mistakes. I'll give you everything I've got if you do the same for me. And they've just sort of, because it feels like they've sort of come together a bit, doesn't it, the last 3-4 games? And hopefully it's as simple as that, because it just felt like something needed doing. We were just drifting. Poor performances, nothing changing. Players making mistakes all the time. The same players making mistakes. So hopefully it was just that, just to clear the air talks, and they all had their say, got it all out in the open, and we're performing better for it.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think the Man City, you may have covered this when I cut out, but Man City haven't won a game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 5 games.
And it's
Not
good.
scored a goal in.
We did talk about it.
Yeah, can we play them every game a week? What is it about us and Man City? Why do we always seem to turn up against Man City at home?
What I was saying before, I think it's when they said it about it being Harry Kane's team, and that's riled Son. I think the whole kind of uncertainty of Kane that season as well, and how they said it was the Harry Kane team. And yeah, it's great. It's great. It's like Gibbo was saying before. I remember when we went all those million seasons not beating Chelsea, and it was painful. It's great that we've got a team that really struggles, because Pape said yesterday, didn't he? He goes, to come to the stadium here, the atmosphere the way it was, and he goes, we tried things that just didn't work, and they defended really well. And yeah, it's just football's a funny old game, isn't it? How come I see it with kids football as well. How can teams raise their games for certain teams and then others they can barely look like they can be bothered? It's baffling. But going back to what you said about Conte, I think the whole uncertainty around him didn't help, because only about 3 weeks ago that he said something along the lines of, Spurs want to barter and I want to win things, or something like that. And it kind of implied that he'd been told that we were trying for these players, but we weren't going to pay what they needed to be paid, and we weren't going to get the players we wanted. And that's where, for that kind of what it felt like about 2 weeks was really negative, because Conte felt like he was done and the players were playing really poor, and it was really hard to see like a way out of it. And then, like you said, finally the transfer window has ended. We have improved, we have made upgrades in certain areas. There are areas we haven't done. We shouldn't need a better keeper if Lloris plays to his potential and the way that we know he can play. We shouldn't need to be looking around for a keeper now. We need a centre back. We need that strength and depth. Sanchez will play on Saturday now at Leicester. But it just looks more positive. The whole body language was better yesterday, and I think they fed off the crowd from that as well, and just needs to carry on and kick on.
Did you just mention Hugo? Did you see that goal kick he did near the end though?
Oh God, yeah. My son went up.
Was that the one when he kicked it to Kane? Was that the one that went towards Kane?
I don't know where the hell it was meant to go.
Can't remember.
The player in front of him.
Oh yeah, when it hit somebody right near the end. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I do. And then all of a sudden they were attacking. Yeah, no, I do remember. Yeah.
Bless Hugo.
But there was the one I was thinking, didn't he hit towards Kane near the end? And again, it felt like the clock stopped from about 70 minutes. But it might have been a long ball, it might have been Lloris, kicked it towards Kane, and there was no way Kane was going to reach it. So Kane absolutely hammered it into the West Stand, like as far as he could.
Kicking and Hugo's strong point, is it?
No, but he did do more of it yesterday. There was less playing out from the back. They did do it.
That's because
but not as much. No, but if you compare it to Forster, who at Preston was always hitting it long, it felt like there was a little bit more towards Lloris doing it that on yesterday. Again, I don't know whether that's an accident or I'm reading things into it, or whether that was on purpose. It did feel like he was hitting it further. He'd get the ball and you'd see Kane going like now, or he'd like move into a position like you've got to do it.
But maybe Becky, that's something. I don't know. Maybe when they had this chat, maybe it's sort of like, maybe Hugo's come out and said, "Look, I'm not very good with my feet. I need to." And help
me.
Yeah, but they might have done stuff like, let's right, Hugo.
Why now? Why now? Why weren't we doing that?
Because I don't know. I think they just kept trying, and it's like, look, let's knock this on the head. It's a bad idea, and just kick it as far up the field you can towards someone, and let's not put ourselves under pressure as much, because we're not great at playing out from the back either, are we? Really? So let's not put that pressure on ourselves. Let's just oof it upfield if that's what we got to do.
But Kane can hold it up on the halfway line, so and I know Sonny's not great at heading since his injury, but there are players. I remember a few times Bentancur was trying to kind of head it back on the halfway line. So it just felt like there was a different approach to Lloris yesterday.
Yeah.
I also thought there was a different approach to Dier yesterday. I noticed he stepped up into midfield quite a bit when we was in possession, which is a nuance I've not seen too much in the first half of the season before yesterday. Was that something that was notable in the ground, Becky?
Not for me, because when I watched Match of the Day this morning and they mentioned it, I was like, oh, right, yeah, that will explain why it didn't feel like we got so overrun in midfield. So when we've talked about not having three in midfield, Kane having to drop back or whatever, that wasn't a problem yesterday. So that may have been why. Yeah. So I did not what I noticed. I remember noticing like the headers and the clearances and the kind of the communication between them and the sort of how things were for corners and things like that more than his position. But again, is that something that's just happened for City, or is that something that's now going to be something that we use? Because again, I keep saying it, we need to kick on from this. We don't want it to be, it was such a great day. I had such a fab day and everything was just, the atmosphere was great. And it was just, like I said, the ball's going out and we're cheering, the ball getting oofed into the West Stand and all that sort of stuff. We've got to build on this. It can't just be this one isolated thing, because otherwise it means nothing. We need to kick on from it.
I completely agree. It can't be the pinnacle of our season, can it, Gibbo?
No, mate. We don't want the old go after the Lord Mayor, go and beat Man City and then turn up at Leicester and get turned over 3-1 or something ridiculous like that. The Spurs, when I used to go a lot, that's the type of thing we do. We'd have a great when you think, here we go. It's kicking into gear, go away to Bolton and get beat. So, but like I said, Leicester are poor at the back. If we go at Leicester, with the right attitude, right mentality, the right tactics, we'll beat them. We are better than them. I know it sounds stupid, but do the basics, defend well and attack like we can. We'll beat them. But we've got to go at it like that.
In terms of looking ahead to the rest of the season, then, this is a real opportunity we've discussed hopefully for us to catapult on and to go on and do something the rest of the season. What do you expect now, Christina, for the rest of the season? Do you expect us to have a big second half like we did last year?
In my opinion, I think we should be going for the FA Cup. I think that should be our number one priority. We bloody well need a trophy right now. So it's really difficult because after the performance yesterday, I changed my mind, because before I was thinking, are we just overachieving if we're thinking to get into top 4? But then it's like the performance yesterday, it's like that's how we should have been playing throughout the whole of the season. And it's just like we could have got so much more points from like that performance. It's so difficult, but I still believe like FA Cup should be our number one priority for the rest of the season. I think as well, we need to ignore Arsenal as well. I know it's so difficult with that at the moment, because the way we was before, it was making it worse just to see how well Arsenal are performing and the fact that they are literally grabbing the league. But people were saying yesterday, Spurs fans, I was hearing like, oh, I'd rather City beat us. And I can understand it. I can, but there's no chance I would ever want to, want Tottenham to lose. Tottenham's my one and only club. Arsenal's got nothing to do with it yesterday. So, you just got to be a fan and hope for the best for your team. But yeah, I'm going to stick with FA Cup this season. I really need to see... I'm 31 years old, guys. I need to see us win the trophy now. Like, come on. It's been a while.
Been a while for all of us there, Christina. Becky, what do we do second half of the season for you? Where do we go from here?
Play to our strengths. Even yesterday when Romero got sent off, and then I can't remember the order of the subs. Son had already gone off. Kulusevski then went off. He obviously brought Sanchez on. Kane basically was like the most further forward midfielder, and that that's where there was this slight worry for the sort of 10-15 minutes that we are just going to be defending until the game finishes, because we are so much better when we are counter-attacking and playing forward. And we haven't mentioned Kulusevski that much today. He had a solid game. He was taking players on. He was beating players. Him and I thought Royal played really well together. There was some nice passages of play, but City's going to be the tricky one in the FA Cup, isn't there? We talked last week about how United have got West Ham. Be nice if West Ham did us a favour. We've got Wrexham or Sheffield United. Wrexham's obviously the easier fixture. Sheffield United isn't going to be easy away. But they are winnable fixtures. But it's Spurs, isn't it? We just don't know what happens in these kind of matches. But I was talking to someone yesterday. Forest, that match in Forest in the Carabao Cup was such a waste and missed opportunity to kind of not do well in that game. That could happen in the FA Cup, and it shouldn't. We should be one of the favourites in the FA Cup. AC Milan are having a shocker. They didn't have a shot on target yesterday. They've conceded all these goals. Their goalie's injured, and I would like to think over 2 legs we can beat AC Milan. Obviously, then we don't know who it gets afterwards. There's still strong teams in there, but we just want to go as deep in things as possible. But again, it's that same thing. Our squad has got upgraded, but it's still not that deep. So if we start getting a few knocks or there's injuries, it was great yesterday seeing how strong our bench was. I think yesterday was one of the first games this season I can remember everyone being fit. That if that carries on and we get some luck, because we do need luck, everyone needs luck to get far. We have some luck, then to be fair to Conte, he's dealt with quite a lot this year. All the awful things behind the scenes that he's had to kind of deal with. We know it's our turn to have some good fortune, and then if things fall into place, there's no reason why we can't. I'm always hopeful. Newcastle at the moment can't seem to score, so top 4 is a possibility. What was really lovely, I thought, for the weekend is that Christina said earlier on, the results really went our way over the weekend, apart from United, and we took advantage of that. I can remember those seasons where we played Chelsea. If we beat Chelsea, we can go above Chelsea. We never beat Chelsea. Next time we seem to play them, we beat Chelsea, we can go above Chelsea. We never used to beat them, and it was always like, oh. And we've not beaten any of the top 6 sides this season apart from City. So so it's those sort of fixtures that we really capitalised on the results over the weekend. And there's going to be slip ups. We're not City. We're not going to go on a run where we don't lose the rest of the season. But we have got enough when we play well to get where we need to be. I'm just forever hopeful, really.
Yeah. Sorry, Craig. I was just going to say, for me, the squad we've got at the minute, even though we do need to upgrade a bit, is far more is capable of finishing top 4, because it's stronger than it was last season when we finished top 4. I know other squads have got stronger, but Tottenham's squad at the minute, played in the right way, with the right, like I said, with the right tactics, the right intensity, the right attitude, is capable of finishing top 4. And if you want to be a big club, and we want to, which is what we claim to be, we got to be looking at finishing in that top 4 and winning the FA Cup. Go as deep as we can in the Champions League, but we are more than capable of finishing in the top 4 and winning the FA Cup. Just keep chipping away at Newcastle and Man United. We've got to play them both. They'll drop points. We've been there before, like we were chasing last season, and we got in there. So we've got that experience of doing that. That's what we've got to do for the rest of the season now. Chip away at that top 4. Go strong for the FA Cup. Do the best we can in the Champions League. Winning becomes a habit, and when you're playing well and getting results, you continue to do that, and that's what we've got to continue to do. That's what I want to see for the rest of the season.
Yeah, bro, this newfound positivity is truly inspiring. Honestly, it's infectious.
Just by one game.
I know.
Yeah, one match.
No, I think after we had the transfer window, I was a bit negative. I think I got caught up in the whole thing. I'm not Levy and Enic out, but I think the whole place just felt a bit like, and watching some of the football, you're like, I can't be dealing with this. But I think after we signed Porro, I listened to a few different pods where people talking about the players in the squad, and we're going through it, read some stuff in the Athletic, and just doing all it. And I thought, that's it now. We can't, transfer window shut. So the talk about getting other players is gone. Looks like Conte, whatever happens, is going to stay till the end of the season unless it goes drastically wrong. So you just think to yourself, this team, this squad, and they've got everybody back fit because we've had a lot of injuries. It is capable of finishing top 4. When you look at Newcastle, Man United, Eriksen out. I think when you sit back and look at it properly, and like yesterday's performance proved what we can do. So that just adds to it, doesn't it? Like, I just hope we don't go in, shit the bed against Leicester. But it should be,
I think there's
positive.
been a lot of toxicity around the club in recent weeks because of everything that's been going on. And I said at the top of the show, morale boosting victory yesterday. I think it really was. And I think the performance, the fact it was Man City at home, the fact that Kane broke the record in the way he did in front of the home fans, I think it just gave everyone around the club a lift.
And also on the back of some good away fixtures, some good away results, because at the away games, the morale was quite good. Yeah, there were the few Enic out chants, but the actual kind of atmosphere at the away games was really good, and that kind of sort of felt like that spilled over into the Tottenham Stadium yesterday as well. I think that's kind of helped people. That, like Christina said before, we were all aiming for the same thing yesterday. Everybody wanted us to win. Including all the players, and to score early, it just makes such a difference. It really makes such a difference.
Mod drummer, that was Gibbo, just to be clear.
They weren't fake.
Nothing to do with me. Yeah, no, it's true. The next 5 fixtures then for Tottenham as we look ahead: Leicester away, West Ham at home, Chelsea home, Wolves away, Forest at home. I mean, they're good fixtures, aren't they? What do you see as getting out of those fixtures, Christina?
All wins. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Oh, I hate this question because I always feel like I curse it. I think obviously the most important one. Well, no, actually, I wouldn't say it is West Ham. I just feel like they're so far away from us now. Like,
but we've got to beat them, haven't we, Christina? No matter what, we've got to beat them.
It's just beating them to shut them up because they're just so like I don't even see them as a rivalry because they're like so behind now. Like, who cares about them? I really don't. I don't get it with them. I think Wolves is going to be the hardest one.
Yeah,
I think they're on a roll at the moment. Wolves. I think Leicester. We should absolutely batter them. I think Leicester have been appalling this season, and I think that should be the easiest one in my opinion. We should actually get all wins, at least maybe draw one and then get the rest all wins for me. If we're a serious team, that's how we should be, right?
Yeah, that's what you got to be aiming for.
Yeah.
Chelsea at home, Becky, 1 over on the Chelsea.
West Ham will raise their game, won't they? They always do. Chelsea will, and Chelsea were poor, I thought, on Friday, but in a few weeks, you'd think that he'll have worked out some sort of system and at least some sort of starting 11. So Chelsea will be tricky. But yeah, Forest yesterday beat Leeds. Forest are tricky, but we've got them at home. So I'd like to think we've got enough to get past Forest. Yeah, I agree. Wolves last season as well, they were tricky.
They always
I agree.
us for
We
some
should
reason.
beat Leicester. Yeah, and they obviously beat Liverpool 3-0, so they're no pushovers. So yeah, we should beat them. It's the same thing. We should. My voice is going now. We should, but it was very hoarse this morning. Everyone was like, "Were you shouting a lot yesterday?" I was like, I was just so happy. But we should beat them. But again, someone put in the chat about, I think it was John saying, why didn't they have the team meeting before Villa? Because Villa, I took my dad to. Bless him. Villa was horrendous, and I don't think he's going to go back to the Villa game. Like
but it was terrible for me. My wife was a season ticket holder at Villa. All her family Villa season ticket holders at Villa. That was horrendous. That's when they should have got a bollocking, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we should beat these teams because we said before the World Cup we have got better fixtures after the World Cup. We've got more home games, but then recently our home form hasn't been as good as we've liked. It was poor at Newcastle. There were glimmers at Liverpool, but we made those mistakes. It was awful at North London Derby. So if our home form picks back up to where it was last season, then we should be fine. But it's always the same. We're hopeful. We have got the squad to do it. And we just, the supporters, like Kane said yesterday, we've still got so much to play for. Let's get behind the lads, and he's right. That's what we need to do. We need to pull together. But we said a few weeks ago, it comes from the players as well. It comes from the team. Conte was being quite negative, and that's hard to kind of overlook. So hopefully, that's why I like Stellini. You see, Stellini's quite positive. I'm hopeful. That's a really long way to answer that question, but I would like to think we wouldn't lose any of them. But I do think the Chelsea and the West Ham games will be the trickier ones.
Good. So when do we expect to see, on your linking into your Stellini comment, when do we expect to see Conte back in the dugout? This weekend?
It's quite a long recovery, isn't it? It's like 4 weeks, I think. I don't know.
So
I thought...
he was asked in an interview yesterday, and he said something along the lines of, I think they asked how he was, and he said, "Oh, he's fine, but he exerted himself a bit too much yesterday. So whether he was cheering or something, I don't know." And he sort of implied that he's now got to kind of rest and take it easy. And so, yeah, I would think he wouldn't be there for Leicester, and we would probably have back for the game. It's whether we travel. He's in Italy, isn't he? So obviously, you would assume it'd be the AC Milan game. It seemed pointless to come all the way back here to do training to then go back to Italy. So possibly he meets up with them before the Milan game.
Have you got? Does it worry you that he won't be back potentially before then, or Gibbo, are you confident with Stellini to take us through?
Stellini hasn't lost a game, has he? He's been in charge of, so I'm not really. I'm sure he'll be sending his sort of like what he wants doing and stuff like that across. But not after yesterday, Marseille wasn't on. Wasn't in the dugout, was he? So no, I think Stellini seems like he commands a little bit of respect. I don't think he looks like the type of bloke the players will try and take liberties with. So now I'm fine with that. Come back when
I think the players like him as well.
Yeah.
You could tell the way when he was hugging them yesterday that they respect him. They like him. Yeah. He's got more of a presence than Mason has. Mason's still quite a quiet character, isn't he?
Yeah, I think just come back when you're ready.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all you can do, really, isn't it? Your health's more important. And but we seemed like yesterday we did all right without him. So let's just see where it takes us.
Yeah, very, very true. We've been going for an hour 26 just before we wrap up the show for tonight. We're going to have a preview show on Friday of the Villa game, but it'll be remiss for us not to just, for the sake of it, quick score prediction for
Leicester, mate. Leicester.
Leicester. Quick score prediction for Leicester Saturday. Gibbo?
I think 3-1 Spurs. How do you like that, Craig? That's positive.
Positivity, that is.
Yeah. You're loving this, aren't you?
I can't wait for Wednesday, mate. I'm buzzing.
Wait for Monday, mate, if we lose.
Christina, how do you see the game going?
I was actually going to say 3-0 to us. Clean
Even
sheet.
more positivity. Yeah. Clean sheet's your order of the day, Becky?
I don't. I don't see Leicester scoring, and it was 4-2, wasn't it this time? Because it was when Sonny got the hat trick, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was
5-2.
5-2 because it was the hat trick. Yeah. Or was it 6-2?
So Sonny had a hat trick, didn't he?
I don't remember.
Oh yeah, it was 6-2. Yeah,
6-2.
Madison scored first, didn't he?
Yeah, I remember the penalty.
Yeah.
The penalty, and then the Madison one, and then Sonny's hat trick. I can't remember the rest of them.
And they got Hojbjerg
scored. David, somebody.
Kane must have scored.
Yeah, I'm going to say, let's go 4-2 to Spurs.
Oh, positive.
I will just say this: Leicester bought a couple of players in the transfer, and they looked decent against Villa. Like the shocking in that the defending in that game was shocking, but I think it should be a good game. I think it'll be a good game, and hopefully we will come out victorious. But don't do a Spurs. Do you know what I mean? I'll keep it positive though, Craig.
Yeah, we'll win. I'm confident. We've got a big second half. We're a second half team, second half of the season. We're going to push on. So great. Well, let's call it a day there. Thanks to everyone that's watched the show tonight. It's been an amazing discussion. Really enjoyed getting into with you. The last thing to say, I guess, is up the Spurs.
Yeah,
Come on, you Spurs.